Jay here for Full Time Devils, and joining me today is Doc Joshi, who's a friend of the show, friend of the channel. He's not been on it for a little while. It's been about a year on it, Doc.
Yeah, too long, lots going on. But yeah, good to be back.
Yeah, we thought we'd have a little bit of a chat because obviously it's not just your nickname, Doc Joshi. You are actually a doctor, and with everything that's going on, we thought it'd be good to get your take on how it's affecting football, and also, we know you've been tweeting a lot of sort of tips and advice as well, so it'd be good to get your sort of knowledge around what's happening and any guidance or any advice you can have for everyone. I'm going to start with the football side of things, obviously. We had the announcement at the time of recording today that the Premier League is going to be suspended till at least the 30th of April. From your understanding of it, do you think we have much hope at the 30th of April, or do you think it may take a little bit longer than this before we have football back on here in the UK, or in England, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, if the simple answer is I think that's ambitious, and I'm being kind. I think when you look at the trajectory across other countries, that is, it's only, a month and a half away, right? So 6 weeks, that's kind of the minimum that we're seeing in countries where they're starting to come out of it when they've been in full lockdown. So Hong Kong are starting to sort of come out of it in terms of towards not normal living, but actually it's not a full lockdown anymore, but we're not in full lockdown yet. So and we're still seeing an upwards trajectory, and we're matching what Italy was doing a few weeks ago. So I think the end of April is, I'm being kind when I say ambitious. I just think it's unrealistic. It's not going to happen. If it does, it'll be a miracle.
Well, miracles are in short supply, aren't they? One idea being mooted is that when the Premier League does resume, that maybe we have games behind closed doors. Do you think that could work? Do you think that might be the next step to resuming football, is to have games behind closed doors? We saw it, obviously, last time United played in the Europa. Do you think that's what we can expect, or do you think that would even work?
I mean, logistically, obviously it can work. We've seen it happen. But what you have a problem there with the fact that the fans will just want to go and try and attend. We saw that with the PSG game. We've seen that in Italy as well. They don't go into the stadium, but they congregate and they do stuff outside. You're inviting people to kind of just, exit their homes and gather in large crowds. That's not feasible, and I don't think it would be allowed. The risk is probably too high once you have a government mandated lockdown, and you're not going to be allowed to do that. So behind closed doors, like I said, it's logistically feasible. We've seen it done, but I don't personally think it's a good idea. The risk is too high when you're trying to contain something. Obviously, there's a public health crisis globally. It's a global pandemic, right? And ultimately, when you boil it down, people are going to be really annoyed when I say this, but football's just a game, right? So why take the risk?
No, you're right. I get where you're coming from. I know we like to say that football is the most important thing and things like that, but obviously this is a lot more serious than that. Now, what have you made of the advice that's being given out here in the UK? Because for many of us, and I talk about myself here, it has been a little bit confusing at times from the government, from other areas. We just don't know, what's best. I know we're told to wash our hands, but then you're saying don't go to pubs, don't socially interact or whatever, but then certain venues are open at the time of recording anyway. What have you made of that advice? And, do you think it has been clear enough?
No, look, I think I've been highly critical since my return to Twitter and on Instagram of the lack of clarity, the lack of leadership. And actually, that's not just in the UK. I think globally, there's been a lack of leadership across the political sphere. We haven't seen anyone really step up and kind of take control of this on a global level, and that's being transmitted through in the UK. So you're getting a lot of confusing. It's all at the moment. It's all advice, right? And that's the problem. You're advised to avoid. You're advised to not go out. You're advised to social distance. And again, that's another issue. I don't like the term social distancing. I think it should just be more explicit. It's physical distancing, right? So stay away from other people as much as you can. Doesn't mean you can't go out for walks. Doesn't mean you can't go out for a run. But we have to understand that when you look around the world and you hear the stories from the likes of Italy, China, other countries that are ahead of us in this spread, we need much clearer guidance. And that's not coming, right? So we have to be sensible. And we're seeing companies making showing a lot more leadership than the government is. My company is a good example. You know, 3 weeks ago everyone was kind of sent home to work from home, and now we're kind of, you know, no international travel. Initially, it was no international travel unless business critical. Now it's basically no international travel at all, and the only activities face to face should be stuff that's business critical, important for medicine supply, things like that. So yes, I appreciate it's not clear, but I think what you've got to do, my best advice to people right now is behave as though you have it, right? So behave as though you have it. That means you'll always wash your hands. You won't shake people's hands. You won't touch your face. You won't, you know, you'll wipe down surfaces. You won't go out to the gym and restaurants and bars. And look, I appreciate that that's difficult, but and I'll fully admit, I mean, I've been doing that for the last week or so, 2 weeks. I've been to the gym a couple of times, but now we've stopped. It's not worth the risk. I can't obviously force people to go in. And when you talk about restaurants and pubs and bars, they've got a livelihood they need to keep up. So it's difficult until the government mandates it. But that is the best advice I would give, is behave as though you've got it, and then work out who you could spread it to, and just don't.
I get that, you know, at the time of recording as well, the government haven't given a mandate to stay in it. At the time of recording this, people are still free to go about the business. What would you say to people that sort of have to go out, the people that have to go out to the shops, or some people who work in an environment where they need to go into work? Would the advice be the same for them, just to sort of...
So again, it's difficult, right? And I'm coming from a public health perspective and a medic and someone who's reading up on the data and the science and things like that. And I appreciate people have their lives to live, and lots of people can't go out. Lots of people can't stay at home. You've got, you know, jobs to go to and things like that. But again, in as much as you can, you should behave as though you've got it. So stay away from, you know, 2 meters distance. If you're coughing, dab and cough into your sleeve.
People mock that, but it's a good advice, isn't it?
It's perfect. My kids were doing it, right? They were going, we were told to cough into our sleeve, but Paul Pogba said dab into, and you know, so it's working for my kids, and they're 6 and 4. It's not aimed at us adults, right? It's aimed at the kids. So anyway, so I would say, yeah. So if you are having to do that, you have to try and take as many precautions as you can. Go to the shops when necessary. Pharmacies, obviously, when necessary. It's just being sensible and behaving like a grown adult, and not behaving like this is an excuse to go and party or whatever. I don't know. I have seen people not following that kind of advice and actually proactively going out, and it doesn't help.
We know that we've seen reports that some footballers have contracted it and have it. You know, they're obviously either in quarantine or recovering. Long term, do we know where this stands? If someone was to have it, would they be able to come back playing football in a few months and be okay? Or do you think it's something that stays with you? What's the sort of thinking around that? Because that's not really clear at the moment for a lot of us.
Yeah, so the data coming out of China and other countries is, obviously it's early doors yet. We don't know what long-term ramifications would be, but essentially people who get mild symptoms and are they don't get into hospital. They don't have to go in for. They don't have to be admitted or need ventilatory support. They recover, and they recover fully from what we can see. The people that go in and require ventilation, they're seeing slightly more long-term effects even after recovery and discharge, like reduction in lung function and things like that. We're seeing cases of what's known as pulmonary fibrosis, where your lungs basically stiffen up, so your lung function reduces again. With physio and things like that, you can recover, but not the fibrosis is more permanent. So it's still not fully understood yet, but there are some cases where it's been severe and they've needed ventilatory support, where there's evidence of longer term damage on scans and assessments. For footballers that have got it and are kind of self-quarantining and chilling and they recover, that's fine. It doesn't look like there will be any long-term repercussions. Ultimately, they're very fit, young, healthy guys. So, as long as they heed the advice and whatnot, they should be fine coming out of it.
Just finally, Josh, before I let you go, Where would you advise people to sort of visit? What websites? I know you're on Twitter, you're tweeting advice. Is there anywhere where people can sort of either find you or find other sites that they should go to if they want any tips or advice or updates?
Yeah, so there's loads of really good websites. So obviously I'm on Twitter and it's Medi Joshi. I've got a new account, so MEDI Joshi. I'm also posting on Instagram, which is just Doc Joshi, all one word. And in there, I am posting where you can find really good advice. So there's some really good websites. The WHO website is outstanding. There's so much good information there about what you can do. There's lots of myth busting in there as well. There's lots of information about how to behave, what physical distancing means, how to wash your hands properly, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're a really good resource at the moment for people who are nerds like me. The Lancet have a really good COVID-19 resource center with lots of data and the latest research. I'm posting quite a few things because I'm networked into the pharmaceutical industry and biotech industry. I'm seeing kind of the information coming out of there. So, and I'm posting on that. There are a few good sites in terms of stats. Again, I've posted them. I can't remember the name. It's Worldometer, I think it's called. That one sort of updates regularly. Every time a country releases its official stats, they update their sources, and there's a table of the current stats and situation. So I tend to post the number of patients that have recovered. We're at over 85,000 globally, which is cool. There's loads of stuff. So what I've tried to do is answer questions and then point them in the right direction. The CDC in the US has got a good, so that's the Center for Disease Control, has got a good website as well. There's loads of information, and that's kind of why I came back to Twitter actually, was because I could see that people weren't posting the right information. There are a lot of myths going around about it. It's just the flu. Clearly it isn't. There's so much misinformation or information that's twisted. So it's really important to get validated, verified information, and also actually to look at the positives, right? So I'm not talking about positives of a pandemic, but in this situation, trying to find positive news stories like positive clinical research or new treatments or things like that kind of lifts the spirits as well, which I try and do as well. So I'm networked into those areas, but it depends on the type of information you're looking for. So I will also start posting now. I think we're probably on the verge of a lockdown and everyone's going to be at home, and with the schools shutting tomorrow, I'm going to have to do this with my kids, but I'll be posting things you can do and stuff like that. So yeah, there's loads of good information, but the football season is not coming back. So start watching those old YouTube videos and old FullTimeDEVILS videos.
We can maybe watch an old debate of me and you arguing about the singing section in the J stand, or whether David Moyes is the right man for the job, or whatever it was.
I don't think we ever argued about that, did we?
No, to be fair, no. That was definitely not an argument that any of us had on this channel. Hopefully, next time we chat, it'll be in happier times. But I do appreciate you chatting to us, Joshi, because that's some good advice. I've been following your tweets and your Instagram posts, and as you mentioned there, with the misinformation that's out there, it is useful to know the right signposts and where to go. So I appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us, mate, and I hope you're well.
Yeah, good. Cheers, thanks. And look forward to being on, talk about football, and Odion Igalo, Bruno Fernandes. There's stuff in there that I've enjoyed.
Listen, just before you go, one final one. How much you enjoying Odion Igalo at Manchester United?
Yeah, how much? Yeah, I mean, instant hero, right? He's one of us, and he's just like, he's loving it, loving life. I feel it. And being born in Africa, it's always good to see people from the motherland coming in and doing well, especially for us. So loving it.
I tell you what, Nigerian shirt sales must have gone through the roof since he took over. I think we're all African after East time for us. Josh, it's been a pleasure. Guys, that's been Josh. You know where to check him out. He's mentioned there, he's on Twitter, he's on Instagram, and all the websites that he advise you to go and have a look. So do stay safe. This has been Jay for FullTimeDEVILS. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.